Alrighty, so we're going to do NFP prep here in a minute. Give me a minute. Let's get it out there. And give me a minute. File. I want to try something. File. So much for that. Alright guys, so we're going to be doing NFP prep here in a minute. Give me a second to get that going. We'll start off with a blank chart. And let me get some coffee. Much better. So NFP's one of the biggest moving news. Sorry, the coffee burnt my tongue. Okay, so NFP is Friday. It's at 8:30 Eastern Time. It is one of the biggest moving news reports of the month. Typically it is the biggest moving. Let's take a look here real quick so we can go to it. Remember, I'm going to Forex Factory for these. Friday. If you don't know what a news event is, just click the little folder. And this is from Bureau of Labor. It's basically a number of people employed during the previous month, excluding the farming industry. It is one of the leading indicators of what the hell is going on in the U.S. economy, so it does affect the market a shit ton. Now, there's a good side and a bad side to NFP. NFP moves insanely fast. The spread gets extremely high. So I would highly recommend going back and watching some of the other NFP videos I did so you can get a feel for this. It is completely tradable, though. It's just you have to be prepared for it. I'll walk through his setup, and then we're going to talk about some of the things that can go bad with it or wrong with it that you need to be prepared for. Give me a sec. Let me answer. I forgot about somebody. So. Okay, so, oh god, I got bit up by mosquitoes when I went to go get coffee. They're horrible right now. Okay, so for NFP, one of the biggest things you could do on demo is literally trade like 4 pairs. And use different, if it's your first NFP, second NFP, since this only comes once a month, once you got a basic feel for it, I would stick to Euro USD, USD JPY, I'm sorry, Euro USD, USD JPY, and US CAD. Now, why am I leaving GBP USD out of it? Because it's been a little bit wacky and out of control. Last month, I told a bunch of people not to trade it, and they got shitty results on it. Some made a little bit of money, but for the most part, a lot of people had bad results on it. I still don't trust it, and reason B is I haven't seen the spread go back to where it is. It's on average 0.4 to 0.6 pips higher than it used to be. So that, for me, means that it's still pretty volatile. So again, pairs we were looking to trade for NFP are going to be Euro USD, USD JPY, and US CAD. Now, if you want to try a fourth, you could do like USD CHF, but I would probably stick to 3 pairs. I wouldn't go overboard on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through just setting up 1 pair for it, but then we're going to talk about the things that can happen, good and bad. Give me a second. Let me answer one more question. Okay, so let's walk through the basic setup, guys. M1 chart, Euro USD. So you want to make sure it's on M1, and we're going to just go to template. And then we're going to 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 go to template. And then And we're going to do build 3 for me, because that means 3 pip Rinko boxes. Now, I'm going to be putting this indicator on the next chart so we can talk a little bit about what kind of crazy shit can happen. Because, I mean, it can get a little bit crazy, but it's okay if you understand what's going on. So let's open up the Rinko. And I'm going to explain too, since we have a lot of new people in here, why we're using Rinko boxes. Oh, crap, if I could open up the right thing. File, open offline. Euro M33. And template, Rinko News. So I'm going to also open up another one, new chart, Euro USD, because we're going to cover, I want to make sure people understand why the Rinko box size matters. So 1 minute, and we're going to do template, and we're going to do build 1. And we're going to Euro USD M11. File, open up offline. Because I think it's important you understand what's going on your own damn charts and why it's there. Rinko News. Okay, so we have a nice rundown here and here. We don't. There it is there, because it's completely different. We're going to look at the current bar for this. Let me, and then we'll get into everything else. Let me minimize this and minimize this. And bring this up. Okay, so we have the same chart. On the left, you have 3 pip boxes. And on the right, we have 1 pip. Okay, so part of the news trading, the thing that we're most interested in doing is we want to be able to deal with the spread that pops up during the news. When the spread pops up, let's see if I can. When the spread pops up, it actually moves your buy and entry. Did anyone see the video that I did on spread? If not, I will link it when this is done, and you can watch that because it explains why spread's so important. So let's take a look. Let's say for the news release we were running 1 pip spread boxes, and this is what it would look like. Now remember, the purple line is our trailing stop loss. So let's say, I don't know, this was the news candle here. So this was our news candle. Now, and let's add in inlines. I want y'all just to have a clear picture on this because it'll help you in the long run with doing this. Because I mean, I'm assuming since you can make money doing this, you're going to be doing it for a while. You just need to be able to keep your spreadsheet updated and understand what the hell is going on. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm going to throw it on here too. Okay. Yeah, give me a minute. I'm just getting set up so I can explain this. I'll clean it off in a second. But okay, so this was our entry. So candle goes up, but let's watch something. I'm just going to measure to the bottom of each candle. 1.4 pips. 1.9 pips. 2.2. 2.5 and 2.5. So using a 1 pip block, what we can see is the maximum it's going to pull away from this moving average is about 2.5 pips. Now if it keeps going up, it might do a little bit more, but let's take a look. This would be on a heavy one. 2.9. You see, as price continues to move up, price is moving away from the moving average. So what that does is when we get a nice spike from news, it allows price to pull away from the moving average and ride it up until it comes back down and hits it and closes it out. So if this would have been our entry, our closeout would have been about a 4 pip profit. Nothing great, but I just want you to understand the concept of what is going on. So here's the trade. When the trade initially opened, we were 0.6 pips, so we were half a pip away from being stopped out. Again, I'm just going to do this again so you can see. 1.4 pips. So as price moves up on a news release, it moves away from a moving average and lets it breathe. Now let's take a look on the other hand at a 3 pip box, and this is what I'm using for FXCM. Pepperstone, probably a 2 pip box because of spread differences. So we're going to say this was the news candle. So this was our news candle. We'll start off with here with the measurements. The first one, 3.4 pips up. Second, 4.7. Third, 5.6. 5.9. 6.5. 6.3, so it slowed down a little. We jump up to almost a 10 pips away. Okay, so we know then that the wrinkle boxes push away from, by the size of the wrinkle boxes, it pushes farther and farther away from our moving average. So if we know our average spread, which is, let's say, 5 pips, this one here puts us way clear of the spread, because the spread added to price can push the price down into this line and it closes prematurely. So we want to make sure the gap from here to here is about the same as what the average spread on a news trade is. This goes for NFP or any other news trade. Oh, I drank the cold coffee. Son of a bitch. Sorry, let me get some hot coffee in me. That was disgusting. Okay, so by using the wrinkle boxes, is what we're trying to do is match the average spread we get on a news release to keep it from hitting our trailing stop. Is everyone clear on that? Do we have any questions on that? We understand now why these wrinkle box sizes matter a lot. Because let's say this one looks similar to this one. If we go one candle ahead, we already have a 3 pip spread. If we go one candle ahead, we have a 1.4 pip away from moving average. 3 pip, 1.4. Now if we had a 5 pip spread on here, where would that put us? It'd put us way down here where price would think it is, and it would close out the trade. Hopefully this makes sense to everyone. So are there any questions before I move on why the wrinkle box size matters compared to your spreadsheet in reference to spread? And I'm not going to lie, FXEM for normal trades, 3 pip boxes. Pepperstone, 2 pip boxes. A tight straddle would be 4 pips for Pepperstone and 5 to 6 pips for FXCM. And we're going to go into that next. But I just want to make sure wrinkle box size versus the moving average, why it's clear. That's why on the 1 minute charts, one of the things that got me being successful in the news trading is switching to Rinko, because I could then use the spreadsheet and adjust it. Because instead of adjusting the moving average, which was too convoluted, I just couldn't get my head around it, this makes it easier for me, because I know by changing the wrinkle box size, I can just go back then and look and say, okay, well that's giving me an average of like 8 pips away. It makes it very easy to determine what wrinkle box size to use versus the average spread on your broker, where if you're trying to move the moving average around, it just gets too wonky. It was not working very well. Okay. So the next thing we're going to, hopefully there's no questions on that. If there are, please ask. You can Skype me, you can Slack me, you can email me, you can ask in here if you're too afraid. I don't care. Just make sure the question gets out. If you don't ask questions, you're not going to learn, you're not going to understand how to dial in. And it's a waste of your time and mine and your money and everything, whatever. It's just a complete waste of everyone's time. So the next thing we need to talk about then is the straddle versus how quickly the price can move. I did cover this, but I'm covering it again. Every month I'm going to be covering this again. And this comes into where we get slippage. So indicator list. Let's go in here and move this. I'm going to get rid of the red lines. Close. Okay, so, and we might even be able to look at this on the 1 minute. Let's see. And we'll do it here. I'll explain it here, and then we'll come back. Okay, so the next thing that we need to be worried about on NFP is what's called slippage or a gap forming. So by your spreadsheet, and if this is your first month doing it, don't worry about it. We'll give you some default settings to use, and we'll go from there. But I want to explain what goes on every time a news trade occurs so that you all understand. The next thing that occurs after we've adjusted for spread by using the wrinkle box sizes. We can adjust for spread. So the next thing we need to look at is slippage. And slippage is the amount of time. This is basically what slippage is. It's two things. And this is amount of round trip time from PC to broker. So what that means is the amount of time it takes your computer to say what is on your screen to them, and for them to accept a change or fill a order. Okay, so the second step of it is one, for them to accept a change, which is moving a pending order. Or number two, it's for them to fill an order. So what do I mean by that? Here, we're going to set up a fake news release so we can see what happens before. We'll delete this for now. I think this will be a better way to explain it. We'll do points away. 8 pips is fine. We'll do 10. Points gap, 200. That one doesn't matter. That's 20 pips away. And we're going to talk about all these settings here in a bit. Modify gap 1. We're going to use 11, 1, and we'll put the news at, it's 8:23. We'll put it at 8:30. And we'll tell it, let's see, stage 1, 20 seconds, so 60 seconds times 10 is 600. Times 3 times 6, 1800. Just do it 1800, and then stage 2 we'll do 17999. Okay, so right here we can see it drew the pending lines. Now news, according to it, isn't for 6 minutes. So as price moves, these lines are going to move. So this will enable us to watch what's happening in a news trade while I'm talking about it. So these are our pending orders. So what did I say one of the things is? We'll get to the round trip portion in a second. But every time one of these lines moves, we are sending an order. You see all these little lines? These are all orders that have gone to the broker. So from the time it takes to go from your computer to the broker. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, Windows run. An easy way to explain it is to do like ping google.com. Now, this one's a little bit more complicated, but what happens here is my computer is saying hello to Google. It responds back. It took 33 milliseconds. That's a tiny bit high, but I'm streaming and everything else. But it's the same concept. I said hi to Google, said hi back, and the result comes back to my computer. It took 33 milliseconds for that to happen. When you send an order, every time it wants to redraw one of these little arrows, which is the pending line moving, see how it's moving? It talks to your broker, and your broker says, okay, I got your talk, and it moves the line. Now, in actuality, what happens is then back on your PC, it changes it. But because if I turn my computer off, right now they would stop moving. But if I have a stop loss and a take profit and set, like if these were take profit and stop loss, if I turn my computer off, they don't vanish. They're on the broker's end too. So the communication is every time one of these is moved, it goes from here to the broker. Broker confirms it, and then your PC on your screen updates it. Now, here's the problem we have when we get into NFP or any of these huge news releases. Data comes in what's called a tick. A tick is just a packet of data. What it has is basically the new high. Basically, it has the new ask and bid price. We'll keep it very simple for this because I want y'all to understand it, but I don't want to confuse anybody. Every tick, what is received, is two things. There's more in it than this, guys, so don't jump down my throat if you know more about this, but I'm trying to keep it simple for everyone. Every tick includes this and this. It's called the bid and the ask price. This is taking into account the spread. The spread's 1.3 pips, so if we look, 1.3 pips up, that's exactly where the red line is. Now, for NFP, the problem can be is this is, let's say NFP, the news trade is coming up, and it's we've got 3 minutes. So it's right here. is where the actual release is. Now these little pending orders are going to sit here until it hits this, and then they're going to freeze in place, and then the news is going to pop. Because again, we don't give a shit about which direction. We just want to make sure that these are they're straddling price as it moves until this point in time hits. Now the problem we can have during NFP is in one tick we could receive a move that shoots it from here, and let's bring up another drawing tool. And I know this may be confusing or complicated for y'all. This isn't something you're going to have to deal with day-to-day basis. The regular news trades are fine. NFP, the reason I want you to be aware of what's going on, one, it'll help you with your day-to-day news trades of understand what's going on. But two, NFP can make you, on a good NFP month, you can make 70 to over 100 pips. Okay. And let me get a screenshot before this dies, because it's going to go away here in a second, because it's going to think news hit. Okay, so the problem that we can then have is, let's say, like I'd mentioned, that this is when news comes out. We'll say it's 2 bars away. It doesn't really matter. So this is when news is going to come out. Now with NFP, you're going to get jitters beforehand, and when I say jitters, it just basically means that our spread's going to start shooting up, and we're going to start seeing price bounce around like frickin' crazy. 2 months ago, we got a 40, 50 pip bounce up and down 30 seconds before the candle came out. So what happened? Now the EA can handle it in all cases except one. If, and I know this is Rinko, but just let me show that if, let's say in one tick, now in order for your computer to update, if everything is in the perfect world, it takes 2 ticks to update. You get a tick from the broker, and then you have to send a tick back, I guess you could call it, to respond to that change. But what happens if in, I don't know, 1 tick, price jumps 12 pips up? So I'm going to change that to blue. So if in 1 tick, price jumps 12 pips up, and we were only straddling it by 8 pips, plus we have a 3 pip spread, it's going to pop an order before news. This is what happens if you straddle it too tight. This is also what happens if you straddle, say, a NZD USD news report, an Aussie news report, in between the US market open and the close, the US market close and the Aussie open. This is why I say never trade off the US or London session, because Aussie just doesn't have a volatility where 1 tick can jump this much. And even if it doesn't jump this much, let's say it only jumped this much, but before news the spread jumps, the spread adds another 8 pips on top of it. So then what we end up with is, here's the spread, 8 pips more, and it thinks price is up here, and we have an order triggered. So it's very important on NFP that your straddle is wide enough that if we get one of these massive ticks, it doesn't pop your order. So that's why when NFP comes, we increase the straddle size. Now the other thing we need to be doing is lowering our trade size to 1%. The reason being for that is this I guess you could call it rogue tick, is going to happen no matter what you do. Some NFPs are going to be so volatile that you're just going to get caught on it. There's really nothing you can do. Now, as I was explaining it with ticks, so we get the 1 tick up. This would be great except for our pending order is here, but our computer, whatever you want to call it, can't respond in 1 tick. When the tick comes up, our next update opens the orders. If the next tick then opens the order, our computer doesn't have time to respond. There is no time to respond because it's there already. There's no avoiding it because it is there. The back and forth communications, it's kind of like those old role-playing games like Final Fantasy, where you have to take turns. The news's move was this, then you have to respond to it. But if they already if during that news, I don't know, if you want to break it down into gaming, they got a critical hit, stabbed you through the chest, you're dead, you can't respond to it. Think of this as like a critical hit in gaming. You can't respond to it. If you plan ahead, it doesn't happen that often. Eventually, you are going to get one of these nasty rogue spikes that just pop up through it. But things you can do to avoid it are not trading the Aussie session, the Asia session, sticking to the US and London session, because what it is there's enough volatility, there's enough liquidity, there's enough people in the market that these become rare. And also the spread stays within control. The spread can freaking kill you. Do we still have that one? Let me see. This is what happens during if you trade before on a high spread. 22 pips down. The spread was 20 pips. So orders just started popping like crazy. So yeah, if you want to do it on demo and watch it happen and see how fucked up it can be, go for it. But do not do it on your live accounts. I don't care if it's your 0.01 live account or when you go live and you're using 1, 2, 2.5%. Do not do it. This is the result of trading when spread gets out of control. It is complete and utter chaos and shit. Okay, so now we've covered what happens, how basically the change into fill and order, and the round trip from the broker. So we know about spread and slippage and how the two combined on NFP can be evil. So basically what we're looking at then is we want to use a big enough straddle so that we don't get caught up in the spikes. Now the other thing we want is we don't want that pending orders sitting out there following price for this long. There's a fine edge here. If it was a perfect world, we could set stage 1 to 2 seconds and stage 2 to 1 second. The problem you're going to have there, and this was a question I had, so I am going to cover it. The problem you're going to have there is we're using system time to when to stop the pending orders from moving. But for those pending orders to move, those are still tick-based. So our system time triggers the stopping of the pending orders from moving. But we're still getting ticks to move these. Am I losing anybody yet? Okay, so system time triggers when these stop moving. Just to be clear. Now, incoming ticks, if we put it 2 seconds out and 1 second out, that is when the order is going to be waiting. I highly recommend doing like 5 and 4 or 4 and 3. And the settings there, and this is for NFP. Right here, you can do 5 and 4, and then leave it like that. This is where it comes into a bit of a, I don't know how you say it, a clusterfuck? Not really. The other thing we need to do is points gap. We want to put it like 200 pips away, so this needs to be 2,000. Our straddle 100 is 10 pips. I'm probably going to end up doing like 120 with a 200 pip away. So what does that mean? Okay, so before I confuse anyone, let's go through this. Stage 1, 5, stage 2, 4. Points away, 120. Points gap, 2,000. I'm going to draw that on the screen, kind of what that would look like. So stage 1 is going to put it, and we'll just imagine this is 200 pips. Stage 1 is going to draw our pending orders here. Stage 2 at 4 seconds is then going to move the pending orders into 12. Stage 1, stage 2. Now for 4 seconds, the EA is going to have to deal with price jumping around and move. Now why aren't we doing it like 2 and 1 second? Because sometimes if you do it at 1 second, by the time these prices already moved through where they're going to plot them, and we don't get the trade. So 5 and 4 is a decent amount of time. Okay, a sec. Let me do something real quick. Any questions while we're going to pause here? Any questions while I do something real quick? Again, guys, this may seem confusing at first. It's not really. You'll get the hang of it. It's actually really simple. I'm going into all the details because we do have NFP tomorrow. What was I doing? I don't even know anymore. I had to stop to do something for somebody because they'd sent me a message. How about this, guys? Absorb what came in through so far. I'm going to take like a 4-minute break, go tinkle. I've already had 3 cups of coffee. and then we'll come back and make sure there aren't any other questions. Alright, so 3-4 minutes and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. So far we have no questions. Let me double check everywhere else. No questions there. And there. Okay, so that pretty much covers the drawbacks of NFP and any news trade. NFP just makes them worse. I mean, it magnifies all the problems you have with news trading. We have all the tools we need to deal with it. If you fill out the spreadsheet, you'll get a feel for it. Most people that are in the news group, they do go live at 30 days, but NFP, I highly recommend doing 2 to 3 months of demo on it and playing, opening up multiple pairs, doing like Euro, USD, JPY, US CAD, USD, CHF, letting it run and gathering the data. I mean, it's not going to kill you to miss out on these. The news trades are going to be there every month. The other thing is, don't get ahead on your money management, guys. NFP dropped down to 1%. You can do 2.5% on a normal news trade. Those oil trades that we do, I would say maybe drop to 2% because they're a little bit unreliable. But keep everything the same across the board then, 2.5% for the rest of everything else. Don't rush to get into it live. I know it's exciting because you should be able to, with no issue, get into it live for the normal news trades, high impact news trades within 30 days. NFP, I'd be very cautious. You need to learn it and get a feel for it. Go back and watch my videos on NFP so you can see how hectic it is. That'll help you get a feel for it. If you're having issues not making money, please send me your charts. There should be no reason why you're not making money. What I need is just the chart, put the script on it. Now, if you don't have the orders indicator and you're just coming in, use the script, which I show in another video. I'm also going to put that in the mega updates with the video. I'm going to show the script tomorrow off of a live trade. Let me check and see something real quick. In 15 minutes, actually, we have a news release. So I'll probably cut this one and then come back one more time to broadcast live. And then if we get a move, we'll show what the indicator looks like, and I'll walk through using it. So I'll probably go ahead and stop the video now, and then we'll take a break. I'll come back in about 10 minutes. That'll give us 5 minutes before news. See what it pops, and then we will place the script on there and look at the trades, and then I'll show you how to send me charts and what information I need if you're having issues struggling. Basically, though, for Pepperstone, guys, use a 2-pip Renko box and a 4 or 5 pip straddle. If you're new, start off with a 5 pip straddle and watch it, and I'll show what you're going to be watching for during the next trade. If anything is slow, like your computer, I did a video on how to clean it up. Also, make sure nothing is running. The only thing that should be running is MT4. If you're recording a trade, you should be on demo. When you're on live, just deal with it, or if you have it available, like a second computer, an older computer, run it on there and record it on demo so you can see what happened with the trade with the exact same settings. We have now 3 people on VPS, but we haven't had any major movers that would have made a difference yet, so I'm interested to see with the people that are running the VPS how that's going. I still need to find one for FXCM. I was looking through that list that Robin posted up, and I'm going to be switching to a VPS soon also. I had one, and I'm in a contract with it till next month, but it gives me a shit ping time. It's worse than what I have with just normal. I get about 20-some milliseconds right now to FXCM, so that's not too bad. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and stop, and we'll be back in 9 minutes for the news. And I'll go through the setup 5 minutes before. I'll blow through the setup so you can see how quick it can be done. Last piece of advice, setup for every one of these. Make your mistakes on setup. You saw this morning I screwed up when I was supposed to be opening up US CAD. I opened that up, but then I opened up USD CHF on the Renko side of it. Mistakes are going to happen, guys. Just get through your pushing through, getting the repetitions done, so it becomes kind of like I don't know what they call it, muscle memory movements, whatever it's called. All right, guys, so we'll be back in a few minutes, and we'll finish up with the last news trade for today.